Hey. Stay out of her underwear drawer.
What's up, Goth Gamer Nation? Welcome to Darkened Streams. Fuck. I might sound like I'm in pain throughout this video. It's not the supernatural, though. It's a little oral surgery I had. Anyway, welcome to Darkened Streams, wherein I review every one of the 327 episodes of the CW program Supernatural, or however many YouTube allows before shutting me down. What did we learn in the last episode? Well, if you're having trouble opening up to your hunting partner, sometimes all the two of you need is for a shapeshifter to take the form of one of you and use its psychic link to forcibly reveal their opinion of you. It's surprisingly effective at clearing the air. Also, shapeshifters are weird, and it's especially hard to remember how they work when your show lasts a decade and a half. Whether or not they grotesquely shed the skin they've copied or magically jiggle into their form, clothing included, who's to say? But the good news is all you have to do is shoot them and admire the quaint composite image. Not for looking great, but at the very least for the effort involved. Season 1, Episode 7, titled Hookman, is the second episode written by John Shiban, who did the previous episode Skin, and though I don't think this episode is nearly as strong as Skin, he was one of few Supernatural writers to really get what makes the premise of Supernatural fun, and that it sort of works best when episodes are semi-self-contained horror movies. Hookman was directed by David Jackson, and this is the only episode he directed for the entire run of the series. A guy who's had a long career of directing television spanning as far back as Miami Vice. Sadly, no X-Files, which is the real meat I'm looking for. That means episode's gonna be a good episode. Oddly enough, he must have at least been a little X-curious, because he did direct an episode of the very short-lived X-Files spin-off series, The Lone Gunman. So who's to say? Maybe we got a winner on our hands. And you know what? I'll make an honest effort to rein in the X-Files interjections, because, we're here for one show after all. And we all know which one that is. Right? Much like the 5th episode of this season, the 7th episode has the boys investigating a known urban legend, seemingly brought to life. Well, in this case, it's more of a mishmash of a couple. Obviously, the titular Hookman legend, which is, in truth, likely a remnant of a cautionary tale, told in hopes of stopping teenagers from fucking, partially for puritanical reasons, but perhaps also because of a number of famous murders that took place in these sort of notorious make-out points or lovers' lanes, like the Zodiac and Son of Sam murders. But I suppose it does independently make for a nice creepy story to spook your friend, or to just say to the mirror and you pretend like you have friends. Mirror Man is my friend, though he's kind of mean to me sometimes. If you're not familiar, it's pretty accurately depicted in this episode's cold opening. A young couple meets up at night and are terrorized by a man with a hook for a hand. I don't know why a weird part of this episode that stuck with me was Lori, one of the lead characters this episode. Her reaction to seeing her dead boyfriend hung up. She lets out this scream that has a real wind up to it that feels comedic. But I mean, I guess it isn't. This dude is actually dead, but he was getting kind of handsy in the car, so I don't know. Fuck him. This episode has maybe the least reference to the seasonal arc. Any dialogue concerning it is condensed to like a single exchange in the opening. Dean stumbles upon the report of the Hookman murder and essentially shuts down Sam's attempts at tracking their father down. I can't help but be distracted by their choices in coffee. This is truly the dichotomy between the brothers laid bare. Dean, the bad boy, bitter, mysterious, yet honest and simple. Sam, tall, with something inexplicable going on up top. The boys head out to Iowa to question the members of the fraternity the Hook victim Rich belonged to. They manage to get this dude to give up the name of his girlfriend Lori, as her name was omitted from the article they read. They also learn that her father is a reverend and learn which church they attended. Why this guy knows that, I don't know. He doesn't seem like the church-going type. Wait a second. Maybe he has something to do with it. Holy shit, Sam, are we about to hunt a purple man? Like a purple dude? A guy made out of purple. Following a mix-up at the studio where they swapped camera lenses with a porn studio, the boys meet up with Lori and get her statement on the murder. Oh, he's, okay, look, I said I wouldn't, but that's Dan Butler, who you may know as Bulldog from Frasier.
Somebody stole my tickets to the Sonics game! This stinks! This is total BS! This is... Oh, got it.
But you might also know from another case of the week investigatory, supernaturally tinged television series, specifically season 2, episode 14. Pretty good Pretty good. Funnily enough, that episode was directed by Kim Manners, who directed a total of 17 Supernatural episodes, including episode 2, Dead in the Water. Well, anyway, they both immediately see the parallel with the Hookman urban legend and determine that it's probably a vengeful spirit, so they do a little research through old arrest records, and ordinarily I love sequences like this. Give me a montage of people thumbing through old bankers' boxes of files, sliding through a microfiche? Come on. This really brief sequence is like the goofiest shit in the world, though. The standout moment in what is otherwise a pretty competent episode. Sam manages to find the arrest records from the 1800s concerning a priest who murdered 13 sex workers, but I don't know why. It's just so absurd to me that they'd find these perfectly aged documents where the authorities of the time were nice enough to include these lovely sketches of the guy and his fancy hook, maybe stain the pages with a little tea, burn the edges a bit. Frank, you gonna want to see this? Fella had an arm like a fucking longshoreman. I don't know, were the police really that thorough in the mid-1800s? I feel like they probably just had a single check sheet. Was it a switchblade or a billy club? Was it a man or a broad? And then presumably a series of racial slurs to choose from. The final key detail from this is that those murders happened on the same stretch of road that Rich was murdered. So in the course of an afternoon, Sam and Dean have pretty much cracked the case. Throughout most of this episode, I keep thinking that it just kind of moves, you know? The direction of it just doesn't waste a second on building tension or atmosphere. It's just get in, get out, next scene. I felt like I kept falling in a wormhole watching it. I'm gonna write a sentence about this scene. Oh fuck, what, it's over? The boys then head out to the scene of the crime, and for what turns out to be a rather pointless detour, this scene introduces a long-running staple of the series, but also I was kind of caught off guard by this moment where they pull up because this is 7 episodes in, and I'm just noticing that the Impala has these adjustable, like, high beam spotlights on either side, and I was convinced those have not been there. That wormhole sent me to the Berenstein universe. Sam's moving it around to get a look into the darkness. These were not there, but I went back through the episodes leading up to it, and they are there. They're just face down. And because I'm sure you find this as interesting as I do, I spent like an hour scrubbing through the episodes to see when those are removed, and the last time we get a clear shot of them is season 3 episode 9. Then starting in episode 10 they are gone. I also thought it amusing that 3 episodes later there is a shot of them driving down a dark path holding out a flashlight, which would have been prime time to use those spotlights. But what's done is done, I suppose. This is all really exciting for me, but I got like a fifth of my audience here anyway, so what does it fucking matter? Anyway, this scene introduces the use of rock salt as a ghost deterrent, though the boys are arrested before we can see it in action. Wait a second, that's... Fuck, dude. Okay, that dude was in season 1, episode 9 of X-Files. That's the last one, I promise. They just off-screen talk themselves out of this situation, though. Like, them getting arrested is a complete throwaway, so we can get them to the police station, where they see a bunch of cops speeding off towards something. The next Hookman murder. Laurie's dorm mate is killed in a way befitting another urban legend / campfire spooky story that is essentially this exact circumstance. I like to think the Hookman entered here and was gonna kill her other dorm mate, but saw the Avril Lavigne poster and went, nah, you're cool, and then moved on to the next room. Sam and Dean sort of bumble their way into this crime scene so brazenly, just broad daylight, barely any stealth. They're like bickering to each other while there's a police officer in the next room.
Boring. So dull. Just patrol around in circles.
They recognize the symbol carved on the wall and link it to the sketch included in the police documents, confirming that the spirit of the priest is to blame. Sam goes to watch over Laurie, and Dean goes to salt and burn the bones of the priest. He also pisses on him for good measure, which is another first for this series, but like a lot of times they do this, it ain't always that simple. Sam and Laurie have a talk where she reveals that one of the big causes of tension between her and her father is that he's having an affair with a married woman, something that she was no doubt raised to have very strong feelings about, making his constant helicoptering and criticism of her behavior seem frustratingly hypocritical. Caught up in the emotions of it all, the two share an intimate moment that is interrupted by Sam. "No, I can't. My girlfriend's set on fire. You wouldn't understand." The Hookman then shows up and attacks Laurie's father while they argue. Sam manages to save them, but it's strange that burning his remains had no effect on him. Being a fellow prude, the Hookman has latched itself to Laurie and began killing people she finds immoral. The pushy boyfriend, the party girl, the homewrecker. Dean, in Burning the Bones did not notice something that likely held a lot of significance to the Hook Man. He's friggin' Hook, dude! I think this would be a much stronger episode if it weren't so cheesy. It's like the Hook Man is really goofy looking. Weirdly enough, I feel like the times he's effectively creepy is when he's invisible, which I would not want to encourage with the show because they get very liberal with the use your imagination bits for monsters. There's a shot of him dragging the Hook against the wall on his way to Dean that is pretty eerie looking and well shot, but the fact that he's just a big fucking dude kills some of that mystery behind him. It's not a bad premise either. I like that this is a thing with mostly clearly defined mechanics, and they have to work out a way to defeat it. They have to burn the Hook, but the church melted it down to make other things, so they just start burning anything that's silver, with the last thing being Laurie's necklace, which now that I think about it probably should have been established a little better. But it made for an exciting conclusion. There's some good wrong turns they make. They sort of set up Bulldog to be the murderer. We're spoiled with not one, but two library research montages. So there's still a lot to like here, but a lot that bugs me as well. Like some of the editing and pacing. There's this whole bit after they break into Laurie's dorm where they go back to the car, and Dean has like a parking ticket, and I thought that was going to be some kind of narrative link to something, like it was going to be a note left for them. But no, he just has a parking ticket, and he picks it up and never speaks of it again. And then it cuts to them at a college party, where they apparently met up to discuss details of the case. Like, well, what's this party? Why are you here? What is the significance of the ticket? Why are you doing your walk and talk here? You two have no business here. As per usual, what is working in season 1 is the lighting and cinematography. Maybe it's in my head, but I can already sense them tweaking the harsh color grading present in the first couple episodes. It's still there, it's just not quite as extreme. Also, there are plenty of great interactions between Sam and Dean. They can often carry some of the more mediocre episodes.
Oh, it's alright, I'm with him. That's my brother. Hey, brother!
My favorite part of it is probably the last scene, which is just a great character moment, where Dean offers to stay so Sam can spend more time with Laurie, as they seem to have a connection, but Sam's just like, Dean, my girlfriend got set on fire. I like when they, do sweet things for each other, but in that manly, never gonna come right out and say it kind of way.
Just want you to fuck, Sammy. It'll make you a better hunter. Dean!
Dude, sorority girls. Think we'll see a naked pillow fight?
We could stay?
Nice job, Dr. Venkman.